Hello, everyone. We're just going to welcome to the call right now Aaron Renner, the gentleman that is head of worldwide sales and an ambassador to the Myra mission. And, Aaron, are you with us tonight?
I am, DW. Daniel White, and everybody, welcome to the call. You know, we call it the Doctor's Clinic, and there's a reason for that. It's that everybody absolutely loves the opportunity to get on a call and learn a little bit more about products and about the ingredients and how they affect us inside the body, outside the body, the biological effects, etc. And I'm excited to be here tonight because it's an opportunity for me to say hello. And of course, if you were on the call last night, you know that every Monday night we do a Sisel Connect call where it's really an opportunity to get together and to hear from people that are like-minded, that are going the same direction. The Doctor's Clinic is really an opportunity to bring people together that want to spend time and be educated and to learn. And so we've called it the Doctor's Clinic in order to give us an opportunity to bring different people to the call, whether it's Dr. Kurt Fisnick, whether it's a number of different individuals that we may end up looking at throughout time. But DW, you, of course, have done the call each week with Dr. Becky. Now, everybody, just so you know, Dr. Becky is no longer with Sisel. She has decided to go a different direction. We've decided to go a different direction. And as a result, we're going to be bringing guests onto this call. Again, we'll rename it the Doctor's Clinic. And it's going to be a great chance. You know, I had a chance to spend a few minutes with DW and with Dr. Fisnick earlier today as we were talking about adjusting and looking at different directions as we planned on doing this call tonight as a group. And we, of course, we have Pat Garrett, that over the last, I don't know how many years now, Pat, but over the last number of years, we've had an opportunity to have Pat Garrett's Testimony Tuesday. And so really it was a chance for us to bring every call together, squeeze them together, and give us a chance to really just make it a little bit easier for us to manage a lot of calls. I think DW and Doc Fizz said it best earlier on the call that I was on. They said, you know, we have so many calls that going on all the time. People think that if they go to a call, it's an opportunity to have a chance to do kind of what they need to do in order to start building the business. And really what we thought is that if we could compress many of those calls into one, it would be a chance for us to back off a little bit, have everybody go to one call that's about 30 minutes and be able to spend time listening to those experts, those people with the experience, those people with the background, to be able to spend some time on this call and chat about all things Sisel products. So, again, from my side to you, I am excited from corporate to be able to bring DW, of course, Daniel White, to bring Dr. Fisnick, Dr. Kurt Fisnick to the call, and, of course, Pat Garrett, and we'll have a couple of testimonies on the call tonight talking about the incredible benefits of these amazing products that Tom Maurer Sr. and Tom Maurer Jr. have been developing over the last 30 years. And it really comes down to that. There's a lot of opportunity for validation. There's a lot of opportunity for third-party credibility. And there's a great chance for us tonight to learn and to just literally soak in and absorb what I consider to be the best of the best. So, DW, I'm going to turn it back to you. As everybody knows, DW is just a phenomenal sponsor, leader within Sisel. Same with Dr. Kurt Fisnick. Amazing sponsor, leader, and educator, and then, of course, Pat Garrett, and we'll have a couple of people on the call. So, DW, back to you.
All right, Aaron, we appreciate that, and we just want to welcome everyone to the Doctor's Clinic call, and, you know, just where you can come and get some information that's going to help you, you know, talk to people at a different level. And we're not asking you to be the science guy. Tom's got that covered. Tom Jr.'s got that covered, and you know, Tom the Third also has it covered as well. I mean, it just goes on, and the other 18 scientists that are on board. But we do want to put you in a position to where you can talk about what we have our hands on and how the ingredients works and how the products works as well, and how they can impact your life. Well, one thing that's going to happen this evening is Doc Fizz is going to help us a little bit, he's also a 4-star with Sisel, so he's built quite a successful distribution system and team, and so we're very, very proud of him. He's a personal buddy of Miss Helen and I as well, and someone who's helped us out a time or two with a couple pinches that we've gone through, and he's just got a good heart when it comes to really wanting to help individuals. And so, Doc Fish, you're kind of an expert. I mean, among some of us that are out here talking to people when it comes to, and maybe I should just let you introduce it. I'll just ask you this way, give us a little bit of background what your favorite Sisel product is. I'll let you bring it on. And Doc Fish, welcome to the call this evening.
Hey, DW, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're sounding good, Doc. Welcome to the call, buddy.
All right, thank you. I know that you had asked to be on a landline. I'm 4 hours from my home, so I don't have an option to use a landline, so I had to ask. DW, it was not that long ago. I was on my way to an environmental medicine conference in St. Louis, and I happened to stop by to see Dan Kinnison, who everybody knows. And I stopped in to see Dan Kinnison, and he said, "Kurt, I got something that I want you to listen to." And I popped in a couple of audios into my car stereo, and I listened to them on the way to St. Louis. And the audios were on this amazing product called TSX, Telomere Support Extreme. And DW, it just really blew me away, because really when we look at it, really since the beginning of time, civilizations, everybody's been trying to find that fountain of youth. They've been looking for what they could call the fountain of youth, and really I think that the first key to it is this TSX product, the telomere science that's out there. And you look at the market here in the United States alone, over $11 billion is spent on plastic surgery to make people look like they're not aging, and that I just find that so crazy. And that's why the telomere is my favorite product, the TSX.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, Tom, when Tom talks about the product, and you may want to mention this in just a little bit, but he refers to this as one of his greatest discoveries, and and you're going to probably get into some of the science of it as well. However, it's one of his favorite products. I mean, it's just it is life changing. So. You talked about it, and you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about a study that it came out that I found extraordinarily interesting, and I want you to kind of share that, but it had to do with ADHD and, and some other disorders that are out there that people go through when it comes to how long or how short or even the shortening or the shrinking of the telomeres. So if you could just speak to that just a little bit, or just share with them, the study, and we'll get into that, my friend.
You bet. Well, DW, I mean, the first thing, kind of give everybody a background on telomeres, and I've got a son who's going to medical school right now. My son Sammy's going to medical school, and he always tells me, he said, "Dad," he said, "you got to use big scientific words. You're a doctor." And I said, you know what? People want to know how to understand things. They don't care, how big a words you know. And so I'm going to try and describe the TSX and the telomeres in a way that everybody that's on the call can go home and they can actually use it. I mean, really think about it like this, DW, is that when your mom and dad got together and they conceived you, what happened is that it was like a fuse being lit. And that fuse was burning really, really quickly. And a third of the fuse burnt away before you were even born. And then so now you've got 2/3 of your fuse left. And when that fuse gets down to the last 1/3, there just isn't enough there to protect it anymore. So all of a sudden, boom, it just starts going, and the fuse starts to unravel, and old age diseases start to set in. And that's really the whole idea. And I go back, DW, and I talk to people. I say to people, hey, have you ever thought about living forever? And it gets a lot of crazy comments, you can imagine. But then I ask them a simple question. I say, hey, DW, you remember when they cloned that sheep? You remember that? Anyhow, yeah.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so you couldn't. You remember when they cloned that sheep back in the 80s?
Yes.
What was the name of the sheep?
Well, there you go.
The name of the sheep was Dolly, right? And they made a little clone of the sheep. And what was the baby sheep name?
Baby doll?
It was called Molly. Dolly and Molly, right?
There you go.
And I ask people, and I just simply ask them, I say, well, okay, so they cloned a sheep, they said it was successful, then what happened? And everybody just kind of looks at me, and you can tell, well, I don't know. Nobody ever told us whatever happened. They cloned the sheep. They had Dolly, they had Molly, and nobody ever talks about, well, the sheep died. Both of them died. Both of them died of old age. The baby sheep, Molly, died of old age at an early age because they discovered that if they take DNA from a 5-year-old sheep and they make a baby sheep out of 5-year-old DNA, you're going to have a baby sheep that's 5 years old, and it's going to already have old age diseases. The telomeres are already too shortened up, and the lifespan of that sheep, over 2/3 of it gone by the time it was born, and it had old age diseases. So that's what happened to it. And in 2009, a group of scientists were given the Nobel Prize because they actually figured out that about these telomeres, the telomere science. It's the end cap. It's the end of your DNA, and it protects it from unraveling. Well, a new study. This just came out September 28th, 2015. I talk about a new study. That's last week. This study just got reported, and down in Brazil, a group of scientists discovered that children that have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I have to really stress it's the hyperactivity disorder, the ADHD, they have shorter telomeres. And shorter telomeres, of course, is linked to cellular aging. It's associated with increased risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, cancer, all sorts of things like that. And so that's the study that came out, DW, and it was published in the Frontiers of Molecular Neuroscience. So it's not just some study that's just being published in a ho-hum magazine over here on the side. It's actually science that's being reported in peer-reviewed medical journals, and I found it quite interesting because this is something that affects all of us. If you don't have ADHD like most of us guys do, DW, we were talking about earlier, most guys have ADHD where we're hyperactive and we don't have very good attention, right? And so you take a look at it, you start thinking, why do women live longer than men on average, right? Maybe it has something to do with it. DW, back to you.
Well, it does, and I tell you what, it's interesting what you're talking about. But now let's pop back real quick, and Doc Fizz, talk to us just real quick. How does the average person that's on the call, without being a big science background, if we ask the simple question, what are telomeres in simple terms, so everyone can talk about them? What would you tell us to say?
Just the real simple terms are, it's the fuse on your DNA that determines your lifespan, how long you're going to live.
I love it. That's real simple. It's a fuse, and they can be they can get crinkled up, and they can get shortened and damaged and hurt and not be so supple. And so what happens with the TSX? It then comes in and well, just get into that. You mentioned something I want to jump into real quick. So when a person is, so is the ADHD that causes the shortening, is it the ADHD that causes the shortening of the telomeres, or is that just one factor that causes it?
Well, it's kind of one factor, DW. That's a good question, because you think about it, does the ADHD actually cause it, and or is it something else? Well, what the scientists found out was that it was the stress of having the ADHD. So the child that has the ADHD is more stressed just because of the pressure that's put on them in school and society and different things like that. But it's also the family. Think about the mothers and the fathers and that of the children that have the ADHD. So what happens is that they've actually discovered that it's not just the children that have shortened telomeres, but it's actually the entire family of the children that have the ADHD they're starting to find this, and then it's actually passed down. So if I have a son with ADHD, and then he has kids, chances are, based on this science, he's going to pass on the genetics for having a shorter chromosome, shorter telomeres into his children.
So what you're saying then is that, both attention span and problems or hyperactivity that is associated with the shortening of the telomeres? So it's kind of a big congregation, of everything.
Yeah, what they're actually finding, DW, that's another good question, is that they're actually finding that it's just the ADHD, not the ADD. They're not finding the shortened telomeres in the attention deficit disorder, just in the one that has the hyperactivity associated with it.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. So, Doc, let's talk about you get into the pediatricians and what they're saying about it, and increasing telomere health and the treatment as far as behavioral issues are related.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's really pretty cool when you start looking at it. We start talking about all these different products, things like that. And I know for all of you that have been that are on the phone here, or people that are going to listen to the recording of this call, if you haven't run into somebody who's already, taking a telomere type product, or maybe they know of somebody that's taking a telomere type product, maybe they've heard of telomere type products, but the thing about it is, DW, I know of about a dozen, probably 15 different telomere products. And one of the things that caught my attention when I was listening to that audio that Diane and Dan gave me way back when to listen to on the TSX was the fact that here we had a product that's way superior than anything else that's out on the market. I mean, we have ingredients that I would call them kind of the B-level ingredients, and then you have the A-level ingredients. And it's kind of interesting. Astragalus, which starts with letter A, they're considered to be the gold standard. Those are the A-level ingredients. And then you have the Bacopa, which they're calling the B-level ingredients. And there's even a product out there with that uses the letter B in it, and that's because they use Bacopa. And the whole thing stems with is that when you take a look at it, astragalus extract, when you're trying to extract the actives, you have to have about 12,000 pounds of astragalus just to yield 1 kilo, which is 2.4 pounds. So 12,000 pounds of astragalus yields only 2.4 pounds of the actives. So it's really quite expensive. I've heard in neighborhoods of $84,000 per kilo. And then another extract that comes from this astragalus is well over $40,000 per kilo. And so you can see that's what makes this product quite expensive on the market. So you'll have companies that'll take and instead of just getting the extract, they'll take the entire astragalus product, the entire astragalus plant, and they'll grind it up without extracting the exact extract out of there. Well, of course, it's not going to be as expensive. They're going to sell it a lot cheaper. And I've looked at some of these formulations of some of these other companies, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying, we got this astragalus root. Well, it's not the same thing. It's not going to do the same thing. One probably costs $100 per kilo, and the other one's costing $84,000. I mean, and it's not just because somebody's trying to, charge a lot more. I mean, it takes a lot to yield that extract. And when you look at the Bacopa extracts, now you're talking again. You're getting down below $1,000 for a kilo because it's not as hard to extract. It's not as hard to find. And what these extracts do is they help to rebuild that telomere. They help to make it so that the telomere starts re-lengthening back out and starts protecting the telomere more, so that you have that protection. And it can, what if it just slows the aging process down? That's what I say to people. What if it just slows it down? Wouldn't that be good? What if you could just, if DW could stay the same age as he is today, biologically, if him and Helen could stay the same age for the rest of their life and live out to their genetic potential, because I always got to throw that in there for the, people like myself, that we can't live forever. I mean, it's impossible, but you live to your genetic potential, and that's what this telomere enhancement does. Is it helps it so that you can live out to that genetic potential without living with the old age diseases like we were talking about, diabetes and cancer and heart disease and things like that. And that's what all this new science is coming about on. But there's other things too, just even taking a look at diet. I talk to a lot of people about eating right, and we talk to people about exercise. I was reading an interesting study just the other day, another study, and they were saying that if you go out and you say you like to jog for an hour, right, and you go out and you like to go out jogging and things like that, and people say, well, exercise is good for telomeres. Well, guess what? Jogging for an hour does not improve the length of the telomere. I found that was quite interesting. You know what they say increases the length of telomere is short burst exercises. So when you see DW and I down in Cancun and Helen and even that crazy Canadian Alan Hordell jumping up and down on the beach for 12 minutes as fast as we can. and that's what we'll be doing. You jump up and down really quickly for 12 minutes and 12 seconds, and you burn up your energy real quick, and then you rest, and then you do it again, and then you rest, and then you do it again. You do it 3 sets just like that. They're finding that has more effect on your telomeres than jogging for an hour. What do you think about that, DW?
Well, I love it because I used to play a lot of basketball and then went to college doing that, and so with that said, that kind of that's short burst of energy. You're stationary for a little while, then boom, you burst out, and so that's kind of interesting. And that doesn't mean short burst, Doc, to the fridge and back, I'm sure. But with that said, we got to have a little fun on the call as well. But you're talking about. You said something to me a few months ago that really got my attention. Is that with the TSX that Sisel provides, that it was and compared to some of the competition. If you took the best one out there, and we're not going to get into other companies and all that stuff, but if you took the best one out there, well, you can do what you want. You're a doc. But, it was 300 times stronger, 300 times more impactful. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, when you take a look at what's considered to be, I'm going to call it the gold standard, because if you go to your anti-aging doctor, one of these doctors that specializes in it, they're using a product that uses astragalus extract, and they use the right extract. They use the same extract that we do, at least one of the right extracts. And they're charging, like I have patients who are taking $1,000 a month of that ingredient. And you just go, holy cow, who could afford to take $1,000 a month just of that one ingredient? And so in comparison, when you look at our product, you could take 3 of their bottles of product to equal 1 of ours on that one active ingredient. And so so it's like 300% more powerful, and that's just looking at the one active. Then you add the second active that we have, the second astragalus extract. That increases the potency of our product. And then you look at the fact that we're using the Bacopa as well. And when you compare it to all the other companies that, let's say they really are using the exact Bacopa extract that they are, they're using 100 milligrams, and we're using 300 milligrams. So, again, you look at the percentages, you look at the amounts of the ingredient, and we're just far exceeding anything that's on the market.
Well, and I love that. I love it. Now we're going to kind of tie something together when you talk about the TSX and you mentioned some of the ingredients and how they can impact us. And then we go back to, and a lot of people have this question now, and Mary Ann gets it quite a bit, and she does a lot when it comes to ADHD and helping with moms that are having kids that are going through challenges, and and people's trying to find alternatives to Ritalin and everything else that's going on out there. We have the TSX is a product that's going to impact them. What other products do we have at Sisel that that would work to help impact that, and kind of just touch on that if you don't mind.
You bet. Well, I know we're getting close to the end of the time, so I won't get into it really in depth. I think that would be a great call that we can do maybe in the future and have some testimonials. I have people that want to give testimonials on having ADD and attention deficit disorder, things like that. But, DW, if you have the ADHD or if you know somebody that has it, or maybe, like you're living with Helen there, and so now she's stressed out because she's living with you, and so, my sorry,
I want to knock him out.
I got to pick on you.
I love it, brother. I love it.
And you take a look at it, and what should you do? Well, of course, you want to start taking the TSX. You want to start taking, I take 3 a day, every single day. I'm 53 years old, and I want to live to be 110 years old, and when I'm 110, I don't want to just be sitting in a rocking chair. I want to be out traveling. I want to be seeing the world. I was telling a friend of mine last night, I told Lisa, I said, I want to be over in St. Petersburg, and I want to be 110 years old going, man, this is fun. And so, TSX is really important about that. But when we're talking about ADHD and we're talking ADD and any kind of psychiatric disorder, what's the product of choice? The Brain Vitality. I mean, it's such an important product. And the Brain Vitality, it just looking at the active ingredients, it's got this magnesium, and it's a special kind of magnesium. People ask me all the time, well, what kind of magnesium is in there? And magnesium, there's different kinds of magnesium, and the magnesium stearate that you see in products, that's not the right kind. That's the one. It doesn't really do anything. This magnesium threonate, which is what we have in our product, what it actually does is it helps to rebuild and protect the brain cells, and so it makes the biggest difference of all the different types of magnesium. And then on top of it, we've got an ingredient called curcuma longa, which is it's like 6 to 8 times more bioavailable than turmeric. And so we've heard a lot in the last couple of years about turmeric or turmeric, however you want to pronounce it. I'm probably not saying it right either, DW, and that. But so we've got those ingredients that are in the Brain Vitality, which helps with any kind of psychiatric disorder, any type of ADHD, ADD, all of those things, and really just helps with healthy brain function.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. And so you're saying along with the TSX, maybe, and you'll get into it later, maybe a Brain Vitality would be something that would be wise to use, and even some of the Encompass 360. And if I heard you mention ingredients-wise, that Eternity was even a couple ingredients were in there as well.
You bet. I think the whole triangle of life is essential for all of us. Every single one of us needs to take the triangle of life. And sometimes people will say to me, oh, man, Doc, you're recommending 18 different products. How can I afford those? Well, pick the ones that you really need, right? Like if I want to have healthy brain function, I'm going to take the Brain Vitality. But if I go, well, I just can't fit it into my budget. What if I buy the triangle of life, and instead of doing a full shot, I do part of a shot? And until I can build my business up to the point to where I can afford to do it all. Or maybe I have 6 people in the family, and they all need to be doing it. I mean, DW, we got to just figure out a way how we can help people get healthier because they're not getting it out of their food anymore.
Well, there you have it, and we just appreciate everyone being on the Doctor's Clinic call tonight. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, do you have anything else you want to say real quick in parting before we go here?
Well, DW, I would say that just based on everything that we've talked about, it would be a nice lead-in just based on what we've talked about so far. Why don't we talk about Brain Vitality next week, and why don't we get a couple testimonials on ADD and ADHD?
That'd be perfect. We can reach out and make that happen, and so you can definitely, you shoot me a text, Dr. Kurt Fisnick a text or an email if you have someone you would love to share their case study testimony. And everybody and everyone's body's different, and how it's going to how your body's going to absorb what nutrients at what time, and what your body's trying to repair and fix versus what you think it should be repairing and fixing are two different things. And so that's why we just go at it. We don't make any claims that we're going to cure anybody or make any claims that we've got all the answers. We're just going to help people have a better quality of life and give them the best chance we possibly can of keeping their bodies toxin-free, chemical-free, and hazard material-free. And so from Doc Kirk Fisnick and myself and the entire Sisel team, we love you, and we think you're awesome. We're so glad you're on this call. Looking forward to the next one, and thanks for being a part of it.
Thanks, DW. Thanks,
you betcha.
Everyone.